So now that we have our basic document set up, I want to teach probably the biggest thing that Photoshop has to offer, and that is the layering system. If you can master the layering system in Photoshop, then you will understand the power of Photoshop. So your layer panel is right here. Of course, it might be in a different area depending on how you have your windows set up. And I went to Windows, Array, or Workspace, and I went to Essentials. But if you do not see the layer panel, just go to Window, or if you do not see any panel that I'm talking about, go to Window and you'll be able to locate it. So I already have layers checked, and it's right here. So this is kind of your layers panel. I'm actually going to close out a few of these boxes so that I can make the layer panel bigger. So I don't really need all this right now. So anything I don't need, property, I'm just going to delete it. We don't need it right now. Device preview, we do not need that. Go ahead and just get rid of that panel. We can easily add it back later. So the layer panel, let's go ahead and unlock this. This is locked. So when you open up a new document, you'll see this little lock icon. That means I can't move or shift around anything on this document unless I unlock it. So kind of a quick shortcut to unlock any layer is just to do a quick double tap right here. I'm doing a double click, and I just click on OK, and it unlocks it. And you'll see right here there's a little lock icon, and you can also toggle that and unlock it as well. So now that it's unlocked, I can actually shift this little layer around, and you'll see back here, you'll see this kind of crazy pattern. All that means is it's transparent. There's nothing there. It's clear. It's not even white. It's transparent. And so sometimes that's necessary when you're doing certain documents, like a PNG for the web, when you're doing a logo and you don't want to have a white background on it. You want it to be transparent and to go on any background. That's where that's useful. For right now, I want to just kind of have a solid white background. So I'm going to go ahead and lock this layer again. You know why? Because if I'm working with type or some other kind of graphic on top of this, and I can accidentally press this layer and accidentally move it and shift it around. I don't want that. I want to have it locked and in place. I don't want it to bother me. So I'm going to go ahead and lock that layer. And I call that my base layer or my background layer. So this is going to be the layer that's going to exist at the very bottom of my document. So I like to name, I don't always name layers when I have hundreds of layers, but it's really good to get into the habit of layering, naming your files, or naming your layers, excuse me, because I have in some documents hundreds of layers, and it can get very confusing, kind of what layer is what. And there's a way you can kind of make that a little bit better, and I'll get to that in a bit. So let's go ahead and add a new layer. Well, how do I do that? There is a, right here, there's a little page icon down here, and if you just hover over something for a few seconds, a little yellow sign will pop up to tell you what it is. Create a new layer. I'm going to go ahead and click that, and you'll notice I have a new layer that's added on top. So anything that's on the bottom is in the background of the document. Anything that's on the top layer is in the front. So for an example, I'm just going to add a simple box of text. So I'm going to actually double click this and name this text. And so with this highlighted, I'm going to go over to my toolbar, and I'm just going to click on the T, which is for your text. I'm going to go ahead and click on text, and you'll notice I have, just like in a Word document or any other basic document, just go ahead and click and type. So I'm going to go headline right here. That's really, 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 really tiny. By default, I guess it just for some reason did it tiny, but that's no problem. I'm going to go, anytime I'm lost, I'm like, where's my layer? I can't find out where the text is. Go ahead and double click on your layer, and you'll be able to locate it. So this is in white. We can't see white on white. So on the text, whenever I work with text, there's kind of an extra, just to add more complexity, there's an extra kind of menu items up here at the top bar. And you'll notice the text is in white. This is your color selection. Let's just do black so I can kind of see my text. And this is very tiny, so I'd like to go ahead and, this is 8 points. I'm going to just increase it to 72. There we go. And see, now I can just kind of, Anytime you want to click and kind of drag around any layer, whether it's text or a box or an element or a photo, you're going to want to go up here to the very top of your toolbar, and there's your Move tool. So you select on that and you can move it around. Okay, so there's kind of our first layer, or first thing we've created in Photoshop, was we created a text layer. So I want to create another element. I want to keep adding things to my graphic. So let's actually add just a basic box. So I'm going to create a new layer. And when you create a new layer, it'll just, whatever layer you have selected, when you create a new layer, it'll add one on top of that layer selected. So I'm actually going to go back and do undo. So let's create, just to kind of show you further the layering system, I'm just going to create, this is actually the rectangle marquee tool. I'll go over more details tools in the following videos, but I'm just going to create a simple little box to kind of show you the layering system. So this is just layer 1, so I'm just going to do black box, just so I know what that layer is. I'm just going to double click this actually and make this a different color, and I'll teach you all this in the following videos, no worries. Okay, so there's a gray box. So right now this is the very top layer. So if I drag this layer over the text, you'll notice it covers up the layer below. Whatever's in the top layer always is on top. If I wanted this to be a background element, I want this to be behind the text, I simply take this layer and I drag it below the layer that I want it to be under. So right now I'm just clicking and holding and dragging down below text. So you'll see now that it's officially, I'm going to zoom out here. And anytime you want to zoom out, here's kind of a percentage right here you can zoom. I actually have a Mac laptop where I'm able to use my mouse and trackpad to kind of zoom in and out easily, but if you do not have that option, you could just kind of type in 100%, or you can type in just down here in the bottom left, you'll notice the little 100% there. You could type in 50% and you'll see a 50%, or 200% if you really want to zoom in. So it's kind of a pain to do it manually. That's why I love having, I have just a trackpad that I'm able to kind of zoom in and out on my Mac. So go ahead and zoom out so we can see kind of the entire artboard. I'm going to drag this over to kind of create a background bar. So if I wanted to drag this on top again and cover that up, I can, or just drag it back below. So I'm just going to double click this, go back up here and change it to white again. Just going to make this a little bigger. And there's kind of your layering system. Let me just do one more layer to kind of continue to show you the layering system. I'm going to add a new one. It's going to go on top. I'm going to do this circle. We'll create a little circle here. Let's go to this option and I'll show you how to do this in future videos. Just going to fill this in with a black. And this is on the top. So let's say I want it to be below the behind the text. So I'm going to drag it down. But you'll notice this gray box is further back still. So I want this circle to go behind the gray box too. So just continue to keep dragging it down to the bottom. And there we go. So we kind of have three different layers. Top layer, and medium kind of in the middle layer, and all the way in the back layer. And you can have hundreds and hundreds of layers on top of each other. So you can have a background layer, a foreground layer, a text layer on the very top, all sorts of lighting effects on top of that. So it can get kind of complicated. This is kind of the basics of the layering system. And you can kind of play around with different layers. So you can add another layer and just keep dragging things around so you have the right placement of where things are in the background and the foreground.